Jesus' teachings were written down after he died, correct? Correct.
Partly, yeah.
So they were written down over 100 years after his death.
Not over 100 years.
So how can you guarantee?
Not over 100 years.
Over 200 years. Then?
No.
When did they write down his teachings?
Within 40 years of his ascension.
Within 40 years. And do you not think the message can be changed drastically in 40 years? If your grandfather died 40 years before you were born and you hear his message from your mother, do you not think it will be totally changed from what the actual reality of it was?
Okay. That's a very good question. What's your name?
Taran.
Taran. How do you spell that?
Taran.
Taran. Good to see you, Taran. Arul. Let me ask you this, yeah? If your friend, how old are you now?
25.
25. Let's imagine, fast forward 50 years. You're 50 years old. And let's say when you were 10 years old, your close friend died.
Right.
Yeah? He was dead. He was buried. And on the third day, he came back alive.
Right.
For how long would you remember this event?
Maybe, well, it depends if I have evidence as to that happening, but I'll remember that event for quite some time, I'd imagine.
For how long?
It depends how significant it was for me.
Well, you tell me. If a friend died and he came back again on the third day, how significant is it?
Well, I wouldn't believe he had died because it's not logical.
No, I'm giving a hypothetical scenario clearly, yeah?
Hypothetically,
he died.
Okay.
You know he died. You know it. Yeah, I'm talking about...
I checked his pulse and
you
everything.
checked everything else and everything you had checked. He had died, he was buried, but on the third day, he showed up alive and his tomb went empty. That's your experience, hypothetically speaking. For how long would you remember this?
First of all, I'd be very skeptical as to whether he actually died.
Absolutely, and that's why you did all your extra checks.
So I did all my checks and
everything else, and you were convinced that this is the case. Nothing else logically explains.
Should this have happened, I would be quite shocked. Now, I'd probably remember it for a good 15, 20 years.
Only 15, 20 years?
Absolutely.
Only 15 and 20 to 20 years?
Absolutely.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Where did you study?
So many people went into comas.
Where did you do your what's that thing called? Primary schooling. Where did you do your primary schooling?
Primary schooling in England.
Yeah. Where in England?
Where? In Birmingham.
You remember the particular school?
I do.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with the schooling system here. What's the first year of education called in primary school? Is that grade 1, year 1 or something?
Year 1.
Year 1.
Yeah.
Do you remember where you did your year 1?
I do indeed.
So that must have been, when was that? 20 years ago?
Around about that, 19 years ago.
But doing first year in school isn't very significant. Everyone does that, most people.
Of course.
Yet you remember that for 20 years.
Of course.
Someone dying and coming back alive, which is, I would assume, if you agree with me, I would assume it'll be, if you're reasonable, it'll be much more significant. And you're saying you'll remember that only for 15 to 20 years?
But what's your point? So he died and came back, so...
My point is...
Just because it's magic, I should
No, my point is, if you are any reasonable and honest, I would say, if you ask the same question to me, same hypothetical scenario, if you ask me, my close friend died, I'm extremely skeptical, so I do all my checks. He died, he was buried, and he came back alive. I would say I'll remember that for the rest of my life, as long as I'm not crazy. Right. As long as I don't lose my mind, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Would you agree with that?
Okay, yeah, sure.
It's fair enough.
Sure.
It's a very significant event.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. So, you asked me all because I'm trying to take a multi-step approach before I actually present to you the conclusion as to why I believe the New Testament accounts must have been reliable accounts at the point of writing. I wanted to just get there, but it involves multiple steps. Step number 1, if Jesus died and came back alive, which is what they claim to have seen.
Sure, okay. Let's assume
it happened. Let's assume it happened. We need to verify, but we'll keep that aside. That's a different story. But if it did happen, they would remember that for the rest of their lives.
Okay,
yeah?
Sure, yeah.
As mere human beings.
Okay.
And would you believe that actually, if this did in fact happen, this is all that is needed for us to understand. Now we know, humanly speaking, this is all we need from them. They need to remember the simple, very special incident. once you take them as serious witnesses for this particular incident, then we know Jesus rose up from the dead.
Okay.
We need to verify,
Sure.
but he rose up from the dead.
Sure.
And once we know he rose up from the dead, we know then clearly supernatural things were in act at that time. And
Okay.
therefore, for the rest of the content of the Gospels, you could easily extrapolate or understand that there would have been supernatural influence in terms of when they wrote down, what they wrote down, how they wrote down. You
Okay.
see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's a 2 or 3 steps process. For us to be confident that the New Testament, at the point of the writing, I'm talking about the point of writing. I'm not talking about, after the manuscripts were written, the first one. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking at the point of writing. For us to be confident that they really had accurate record.
Sure.
All that we need to know is, that we need to understand is whether we appreciate as mere human beings they could have been reliable witnesses for death and resurrection, which we agree on, and that's all.
Sure.
So it's a logical next step would be supernatural influence at play, and therefore the rest of the things fall in place.
Got it. Let's assume that it's all historically correct and that what they wrote 40 years after Jesus passed was totally logically, factual and correct and truthful. Then between then and now, there's been 2,000 years and so many translations of the Bible and changes that have been made to the Bible. How can you guarantee that the message now is the same as 2,000 years ago, where it was Aramaic and that was converted to, other languages like Greek and then to English and things like this? How can you guarantee it was the same message?
Taran, you said Taran, yeah?
Yes.
Taran, wonderful. So this is exactly the question I ask and address in this particular book. Can I gift you this book?
Sure.
You can have that book.
Oh,
it's a
that's
very
very
good.
kind.
It's a very good question that you're asking.
You wrote this?
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good man.
Because this is the question you're asking is a very serious question.
Absolutely.
Number one.
Absolutely.
And number two, there are plenty of misconceptions. Plenty. I've heard people, youngsters, I've heard them come and say, oh, the Bible has been changed and so many times and so on. So they have, for some reason, I didn't go through the schooling system here, so I don't know what happens in schools here in pragmatic terms. But my point simply is, most of them haven't got real facts. I address them here.
Okay.
Today, standing in the 21st century, we remember the first question we addressed was that we can be confident that they actually, at the point of writing, that they actually got the history right.
Yes.
But second question is what is addressed here, which is from the point of writing,
Yeah.
we till today,
Till today.
based on details we know of,
Yeah.
based on access to manuscripts that we have today,
Right.
from very early centuries, we can really be confident that what we have today captures accurately what happened then
Yeah.
in terms of the first writing. So very reliable.
But the meanings certainly change. If I speak in Hindi and then somebody translates what I say from Hindi to English and then you change that to Greek, think about how those meanings will be changed when you change from one language to the other.
So please come closer to home.
Okay.
So explain to me. So the Bible originally, by the way, New Testament documents, the first language was Greek. Was for the New Testament.
Indeed.
So please, when you say translation from one language to another language, which languages do you have in mind? We have access to the Greek manuscripts. We have access to plenty of Greek literature from the first century. Enough to know how the first century Greek, which is what is called Kene Greek.
Right.
We know how it works.
Aye.
We know the grammar, we know the vocabulary, and so on. We have plenty of details, and so I don't see any problem. But maybe you have a particular kind of problem in mind. Which translation do you have in mind?
I'm thinking about my own experience of translating Hindi to English. The meanings always change. Like if you take complex poetry, like the Bible would have been very complex literature with deep philosophical meaning. If you translate that, complex words will be misinterpreted or extrapolated as a different word.
Taran, so let me ask you this, yeah? You're speaking to me in English,
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah.
Your brain, at some stage, is converting electrical signals into into English.
Yeah, yeah.
But electrical signals were the first signals in your thinking and asking the question. Should I take you seriously
Yeah.
in that? Should I really trust that your brain was able to translate the electric signals into English properly? Should I take it seriously?
The way you can take it seriously is by seeing if I'm speaking logically. And if what I'm saying makes sense.
No. Please note carefully. My concern is not whether the statements that are coming out are logical or not. My concern is whether the statements which are coming out in English are really the questions you had as electrical signals in your brain. I want, when it originated, it was electrical signals. It wasn't English.
Absolutely.
Should I be reasonably confident that you were able to translate, your brain was able to translate the electrical impulses into English properly?
Well, I guess you'll never know, and that's exactly the same with us and Christianity and the original Bible.
This is cop-out.
You'll never know what I'm thinking.
Taran, let me tell you, being skeptical is good. Because being skeptical is about asking questions. It's about asking questions, yeah? What's going on here? You happy?
How much is this mic?
I don't have to tell you. So being skeptical is fine.
He doesn't have to tell me. He doesn't have to tell me. He doesn't have to tell me. What a great guy. What a great guy. I just want to know the price of the mic. How much do you think that costs?
That's fine. Charan, so you're with me so far. Maybe you can come here. So you're with me so far, yeah?
Indeed.
So the point is, being skeptical is good, which is really the attitude where you just don't take anything at face value.
This guy is fucking smart.
He's saying a whole lot of nothing.
Scrutinize. What? Are you a Muslim, sir?
You're a great speaker.
You're Muslim?
Yeah, please.
Are you a Muslim? Are you a Muslim?
Are you a Sugudu?
The camera has not. Any intelligent comments about the Quran? Did Mecca exist in the 6th and 7th century?
No.
No?
No.
Good. So you're planning to leave Islam?
The Mecca still doesn't exist.
Okay, so you are a bit confused. I understand. So you, sir. Are you Muslim?
Le Fossil?
He's French.
So clearly
Paris.
just when
Speak with the Fossil, no?
are these your friends? What's happening with these people?
Are you Indian? Racist, you would not
Are you Indian?
I just want to know the price of the mic so I can leave, brother.
Now, what's your message?
Nothing much. Confusion.
He didn't even give me a chance to speak. Oh, and he hit me with the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
I would like to say, study the science of art, but also science of studies and study.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you?
I'm out now.
Good to see you.
Can I know the price now?
I can't remember as a matter of fact.
Why is Papa gonna hit you if you tell me the price of the
I
mic?
can't remember.
What is
Okay.
going to beat you?
Okay, £100 or 200 or 300?
Around 200. I can't remember. Okay.
Okay, thank you, brother.
Yeah, good to see you.
This man is the greatest man.
Jesus is the greatest. Good to see you guys. Good to see you.
Can you know Teddy said? You can
Okay,
tell.
I have a question for the Christian.
Yeah.
Where is Luke, David, Matthew, and John?
Where?
Where are they in the
mean, where
Bible?
are they?
Can you find them for me?
Well, there are many places.
He is bamboozled because he can't find them.
There we
Jesus
go.
died for
All
us.
right. Okay.
Let me
No,
smoke crack
David.
'cause Jesus died.
Okay.
John.
Comedians.
No Jennifer, no Lawrence.
We got him. We got him.
You've got me. That's it. Really hard to negotiate my way around comical nonsense. But yeah, coming back to it. Being skeptical is good, but being unreasonably skeptical isn't good.
Of course.
So, for example, you come over to me and you said you wanted to challenge me. I initially ignored. I don't know if you realize. I said I wanted to speak to some Muslims, but then because I saw that you were sincere, I wanted to engage with you. Yeah?
Oh, it's kind.
Yeah. But the thing is, when you ask, I know human beings. I have experience with human beings. As long as I, assess and come up with a judgment that it's going to be useful speaking to you, I'm going to engage with you. Of course. That's good. Initial reaction, a bit of skepticism, and then I wanted to engage. That's a good thing. So when you say something, I don't have to be paranoid in thinking, is he really saying what he wanted to ask? I don't have to be. Because general human experience, we understand that most human beings, as long as we know people have lost their minds, like the gentleman, I don't know what they had in mind. Maybe they just want to make a comical video around me. I don't know what they had in mind. But my point simply is, as long as people are reasonably sensible, you can engage.
Of course.
So, now get back to the original question you asked. It's true that not everyone... Sorry. Apologies. It's true that not everyone can do a good job at translation. I completely agree. But that is not to say none can.
Of course.
My simple point is today we can study in detail. You can study in detail if you wanted. You can access. You can either you can study the background to the research, to the translation effort for scriptures, or you can study the Greek yourself. Plenty of resources available. Long story short, though, we know exactly what was written in the Bible. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the Bible, by the way, because I think you misunderstood, the Bible is not just a philosophical book. The Bible is philosophically very sound. I completely understand and agree.
Okay.
But the Bible does not have just, wishy-washy philosophical material. The Bible deals with various genres of writing, one of which is history. The entire Bible has a very strong historical backdrop. We know plenty of details, who did what to who and so on, and in that context what theology they advanced and what revelation they spoke about and so on. How were they challenged, all sorts of details we get from the Bible. In other words, long story short, based on our careful analysis, today we can be confident of who Jesus was, what he taught, who his disciples were, what did they understand from Jesus Christ, of the fact that Jesus Christ is God, which is a clear conclusion they got to, and the fact of the teachings of Jesus Christ, and of the fact that you and I are sinners. We are not consistent with God's plan. We have broken God's way in our lives in so many different ways. And God can't simply accept us into heaven for various technical reasons. Because essentially, if he lets us into heaven, heaven is going to be one big mess. Long story short. But God wants us to be there because he loves us so much. And that is made available only through Jesus Christ, because he died for us, for you and for me, in your place, in my place. Wonderful theology, well understood in the historical context, very reliable.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time. And,
Absolutely.
And I'm very impressed that you've written this.
Thank you.
So I'll take time to read this.
Absolutely, Taran. Could I suggest something? We do weekly live streams. My email address is actually there somewhere. Inside somewhere there. Somewhere, should be somewhere. Oh yeah, there.
I see.
You can email. We do a Wednesday live stream of discussing some stuff like this. Would you like joining us Wednesday 8 p.m.?
I've read this.
What's that?
I've read this book.
You have? Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And is it online?
Online stream. You can join us on stream. Yeah, essentially, we take challenges online. We try to address various worldviews and so on. So you're most welcome to join us. Anytime. You don't have to be prepared. As long as you even have some questions, you can join. And yeah.
I'll very much do my best. So thank you.
Good to see you, Taran.
Take care.
God's blessings to you. Yeah.